Hey everyone, welcome to this new series. Not exactly series, this is just of a topic, and that is called automations. Now, automations is something that is not really new, and I want to explain it in the simplest manner possible. Okay, because after this, you'll be doing some really, really interesting projects, not the learning projects, but actual implementation of expense tracker, and of course, your final project of creating an IPL auctioning dashboard. Okay, let's talk about automations. So, as I said, automations is not something new that you are using or you are hearing about in your life. Robots automate a lot of things. Amazon has a robo cleaner which basically roams around the floor and just cleans any dust particles. That's also a form of automation that robots do. But we are talking about technical automations. Stuff like let's say your voice assistant does on your mobile phones. Okay, Google, remind me tomorrow at 4 p.m. to call my sister. Okay, so instead of going to alarms or reminders, setting 4 p.m., entering call my sister, you just told the voice assistant to do that. Similarly, over here, uh, this automation can be bifurcated in Sheets and in Excel. It can be bifurcated into two things. First is using a thing called macros. Okay, so what macros does is macros basically automates certain tasks that you've already done, repetitions. I'll just explain this quickly. So over here in extensions, you get the option of macros and then record macro. Okay, so just start recording. Now let's see if I enter over here my new macro and I am teaching awesome stuff. Okay, and this is what you have done. You've chosen absolute references and I click on save. Let me just do like first macro. Let me and here's the shortcut Control Alt Shift 1. Okay, now it's saving over here and that's done. Now let's say if I remove this thing, okay, and I again want to execute it, I can either use the shortcut Control Alt Shift 1 that I set up, or over here in macros, I can select over here first macro. Now, without me doing anything, okay, my hands are here, it will automatically enter this value. See, it's there. Now, here it might look very simple, right? I mean, I can enter two values, not a big deal, but it actually does everything from editing to sorting things, coloring things, basically, whatever actions you take over here, it will duplicate it. Okay, and because I selected absolute values, it put it in the exact same space, b4 and b9. If I had done something else, like for example, if I had done record macro, use relative values, if I do first column input below, okay, just some random stuff, and I save it. I call it relative macro, just some name I'm choosing. It's saving, just give it a second. Relative takes a little more time to save, but it shouldn't be too long. I'm not editing this video intentionally so that you also understand that it does take a little bit of time. Okay. Now if I delete it, and let's say I am selecting this particular cell, okay? Extensions, macros, and relative macro. See, now it did not enter the value over here because I selected a relative, it entered it over here. Okay, I hope you're understanding the difference. It's relative to the cell that is already selected. If I select it again over here, Control Alt Shift 2, it'll again run the script and now the values will come over here. This would not have happened if the option was absolute values. Alright, I'll not go into too much detail in this macros right now. Personally, it's not so much needed in your corporate life. In interviews, it will definitely not be needed. But still, it's a good thing to know. Okay, what we will be working on a lot in the next few videos and also in the project is your usage of a thing called app scripts. Now, app scripts is a very interesting concept. and I need to change the tab. Okay, I'll probably explain app scripts in a separate video altogether. But what app scripts does is basically it'll allow you to do a lot of automations when it comes to what happens if I click on a button, delete this row automatically, or change the format of it, or take an input from the user. So it'll do all those dynamic things by code. And if you're wondering that if this is really complicated coding, it is not. Okay, do not worry about that. It's some very simple English, simple functions, which I'll also tell you very clearly, so that your job can be to think about how to implement it rather than how to code. Okay, so I'll try to simplify it very easily. All right, over to the next video where we learn more about app scripts. See you there.